morning. Happy New Year to everybody. Glad to be here. I'll try and keep it a little bit tempered. We're in my mic here, so I don't. I'm in a small space, so it echoes a lot. Tell me if you get a lot of echo. I'll try and just keep my voice sensitive to that. Happy New Year. Glad to see that everybody's here. Um, New year, new adventures, uh, new products, and new things to learn. So today we're going to be covering part 2 of 2 for ZENworks maintenance. Some of this may be um, uh, similar to the last part 1, but hopefully more information. And it'll just be me today. So I'm hoping that I give you some added information. We got some downloads for you. Starting this year, we're going to be able to download the presentations as well as some content right directly from uh, from the filer, or so that you have them and you can get the links right off of the presentations. So that way, if you miss this, you could still go to the description of the recording and download the actual presentation itself. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully that'll give you more details of what you're looking for when you're investigating different parts of the aspects of ZCM that we talk about. So next time, which will be January 19th. Hello, Chris. How you doing? Thank you for joining us. I don't remember seeing your handle before, so I'm glad you're here. Thank you for visiting, and we hope that you get something out of this. I'm going to go ahead and reply, show you how I can DM directly to Chris. Jose, how are you doing? So glad you can join. Um, Happy New Year to everybody out there. If you can, drop a hi in chat so I can see who's attending, because I really don't see who's attending. So I appreciate those that chat in chat, and we can know who's there. And if I'm talking to one person or more, that's great. And then we can get conversations going between each one of you. You can actually DM each other by putting the @ in. So let's go ahead and get started. I got a little bit different format on the screen, as you can tell. Oh, you've been lurking, huh? Thank you, I appreciate that. Got a little bit different format on the screen so that we can actually see things as I go through the presentation. So we're gonna see if this works better for us. So for the start, and let me know. Hi, Kurt. Thanks for joining. Let me know about the sound if you're getting a lot of feedback. I think if I had a standalone mic, it might be more echoes. So just let me know how that is. Hello, Don. Happy New Year to you. Glad you could join. So again, ZENcast Live. It's first and third Tuesday of each month at 9 o'clock. And this year, probably second quarter, we're going to try getting into another time zone. Keeping this one and adding another one. So we'll see how that goes. Got a few things to arrange first to see if that's going to be approved, but we'd like to reach others in other time zones as well. So that's what's going on for ZENcast Live. Again, a little channel housekeeping tips. Log into the chat to join, which you guys obviously have. You can direct message using an @ in front of their name and direct message them themselves. There's commands in there with an exclamation point, and also your settings should be, if you can, turn autoplay off and try and put high res or 720 60 on your resolution for that. Subscribe to the notifications and you'll know when we go live. And then new is the links and presentation PDFs or spreadsheets will be in the recording description after. Give me about a day to finalize that, because YouTube has to do what it does when it's recording the online session and then publishing it. But the recording is almost immediately available, but sometimes the descriptions won't be there right away. So there we go. Let's move on. So the ZENworks suite, we're currently at 2020 update 1, ZDC, agent cleanup. There's a TID there. So what I want to try here is, this is what I'm referring to as far as, yeah, that's not it. Hang on. We want to go, I was afraid that might happen. Let's go here. If we do this for the first time, I think it'll stay there. So now we can actually show you um, as we're going through the presentation without having to go back and forth. So I hope that works better for us. Um, so ZENworks system update catalog. There's a really good presentation out there. Oops, I didn't put a link. Oh, I put the link here. Really good presentation out there under the community about system update workflow, so you can see how your system get updated and how it workflows, some of the commands you can use, who talks to what. So be aware that's there. It's good for general processes, because even system updates could be the PRUs. It could be obviously updates, update 1, update 2, those types of things. But this shows you how that process works. And then I did hear of in another webinar that there's a ZENworks 2020 update 2 on January 14th. This is before my next session, so I'm not sure if that's actually happening, but keep an eye out under the ZENworks tips and information, because there may be a ZENworks 2020 update. On the European side, they're doing a series of webinars, and they mentioned this for January 14th. So just throwing it out there. Haven't got confirmation from Jason yet, but we're still, I don't know. If it does happen, the next time I'll at least have the webinar link so you can go to it and see what's going on in update 2 if they do present it on the 14th. So yeah, be aware that that might be coming up. I heard it a couple times in that particular webinar. So then current version for ZCM is 2020 update 1. As we mentioned, ZNews is back. Okay. And you'll probably be seeing that. Let me go ahead and log into my zone. And we'll go in as administrator. Oh, did I fat finger it? Which one is this? 27. That's good. So ZNews is back. Down at the bottom of your main screen. So, for instance, this is a Gartner Peer Insights. It has a survey out there regarding how you think ZENworks works for you. So they have a survey. We're in the unified endpoint management stream, so they're doing surveys on the different products that are in that stream. So feel free to go out there and give it your best. We'd love to have you go out there and give your opinion of ZENworks and how it's working for you. But we'll get back to that. The ZNewsWorks is in operation now, and be aware that you can go there for some of the latest news. Imaging driver updates. DCM 2020 update 1 for November came out late November 2020, so it's there, as well as for 2017. Okay, you can go out to Patch Finder to see it. Again, don't forget about Patch Finder. Patch Finder is very resourceful. You go down and you put in your different products. So we can go ZENworks Suite, let's say, or ZCM, and then we put in, maybe I'm on 2017 update 2. It'll then give me a list of things that I can upgrade to, right, in the 17 realm. If you're in 2020, which is at the top, I think, yeah. It'll tell you, hey, there's 2020, there's an imaging driver update, there's the update 1 also, and the TID and so forth, so, with links. So it's very resourceful to try and keep the product you're on current for that version. And exciting news for the OWF. If you own OWS, that's the Open Workgroup Suite. They have put an extension in there so that you can actually have the full Zen. You get some ZENworks stuff with the OWS, but they have an add-on that if you wanted the full complement of the ZENworks suite for minimal cost, you can actually have desktop containers, the asset management, full disk encryption, service desk, standalone, standard edition, and then discount on patch management. So that was announced late last year, and I just wanted to pass that on. So exciting news for OWS. And again, desktop containers. There's a great desktop containers webinar out there I saw, um, and the resources here. But you'd have to register first. Basically, you just fill it in. So don't. It's not like there's a cost or anything. Microfocus.com and register, and they'll go right into the webinar itself that's pre-recorded. So this one, Ron Van Herk did, and it's through a series of webinars. He just did this last, I think, a couple weeks ago. And this is that series I was talking to you about. If you listen to this, you'll hear about that January 14th update 2 for ZENworks 2020 update 2 components. So, Mohammed, thank you for joining us. Welcome and Happy New Year to you. Thanks for joining on in. We're just covering some of the things and the different details on the different products here. If you are using desktop containers, 2020.8 and .9 or .9 includes the turbo and streaming for at-home workers. Great webinar out there on that, and that's what Ron did here. He showed us how you can actually do some streaming, set things up for bundles you've already invested in ZENworks, and now you can use them to send them for the at-home workers and so forth too. And then also backing up. We have a product for backing up. And there is an issue with one of them. We have a workaround. There's a TID out there, and 20.1 will have it fixed. But if you're doing you have a problem importing applications from the hub, there's a workaround and a resolution. So we got that covered for you, and it will be actually fixed in 2011 of desktop containers. Service Desk, again, Open Horizon Conference was last year. I found this great Open Horizon. I didn't sign in right. So there's a great webinar. If you go out to this link, you should be able to get to it. And then there's a great walkthrough for Service Desk from installation to adding people in. Whoops, I went the wrong way. Go back. There it is. No, I don't have the links actually linked in there. I missed this link. Sorry about that. So there's some really good presentations out there for Service Desk regarding setting it up, ticket management, enterprise store. I must have. It was under Open Horizons. If you go out to the Open Horizons link, which is later in this presentation, you can then look for Service Desk. So I found that. I think it was back in October they actually did that, but that was kind of neat that they had a nice presentation. And then enabling the old technician and user portal is available under this documentation here. Of course, we're on 8.2 right now. Okay, remember your appliance online updates. Okay, so when you're working your OS and some application updates can be done through the online updates when you're working with an appliance. Okay, let me move through that. And we could actually, I think I have one. Not there. Oh, I know where it is. go out there and apply that while we're going through our presentation. Okay, online updates. When you're registered for online updates, you'll have an exclamation point when there's updates to be run. And you can see there's needed patches, there's installed patches. And you can see we've already installed some, but now we have some more under needed. You can also update now. You can schedule your updates. Again, your registration is here to see if it's active or not. And then you just hit update now. It'll tell you, by the way, you might have some disruption, so you may need downtime for that because it'll need a reboot. But let me cancel this real quick. And sometimes at the bottom they'll have the features, which would be if you're going from one subversion to another subversion. Sometimes you can do it in online updates if the OS doesn't change. So at which point it'll be listed in here as well. We'll go ahead and just do updates for the OS, and these are security updates and vulnerabilities and those types of things. So be sure to check this. Every quarter they've been getting them out. So the next quarter is February and May. So February is next. We just had one in November. So if you haven't done it recently, be sure to check that out. Same with ZRS. We're currently at version 7.2. The appliance update will be in February for that. One thing to note, ZENworks Mobile Management, the legacy product, not ZENworks Configuration Management Mobile, but ZENworks Mobile Management. We've had this for a decade now. The support ended in December 2020. Okay, so we'll do everything we can to help you move off of that. There's really no easy transition because they're separate products going from ZMM to ZCM Mobile. You know, even though support's ended, we'll do our best to try and work you through getting that over. Most of you have been notified of that, but in case you haven't, just so you know that support, that product, part of that is Flash is going away, right? So with Flash going away, it's a Flash console. And so, I mean, plus it's an older product. It's quite old. So be aware that that's occurring. So it just made sense to end support at that time too, because we haven't had an update on this for a while, and we've had ZCM mobile for a few years now. A couple of great things. ZENworks Asset Management for Education article I mentioned last week or last time. Gartner Peer Insights is recognizing ZENworks Asset Management. And then in regards to education, so there's a great article out there for that, as well as, and I'll take this and put it in chat. I didn't put a link there. Again, the description will have more of these links. So if you miss it here, you can always get it. If you're watching the recording, you can always get it under the description of this recording. Okay. And then a peer review for ZENworks Asset Management. Another one from Gartner. Hang on, why is it going to this one now? Hang on, let's grab this. Okay, is there. So we're getting some recognition from you guys talking about ZENworks Asset Management and ZENworks in itself. So we appreciate everything you're supporting us with, and hopefully we can continue improving the product so that you can brag about it even more. Okay, so that's Gardner. Patch. Oh, I didn't check today if the January. Oh, it probably won't be out until mid. So, and now all of my links are going here. Go out the tips and information occasionally because they have great information. This one is Patch Tuesday highlights. Every month, Darren posts this. So different things that might have vulnerabilities, update issues, Microsoft KB things and links. So he does a great job on getting this out there to notify you if you're doing updates and patches. Whether you're using patch management or not, this is a great resource for you. So be sure to go out to ZENworks tips and information. I didn't double check. We'll check when we get into the lab as far as if the PRU's there. But and then deploying another article that was out there. So we have desktop containers connected backup webinar. Here's that one I was talking about. ZENworks Asset Manager Gartner Peer Insights. Patch Tuesday highlights. Some of our ZENcasts are also posted out here. So take a peek out there every once in a while. And then we have, for instance, this one, deploying the Windows 10 feature via the ZENworks Patch Management. So if you are using patch management, you can also, they have great articles on, obviously across the product. And this is just one example of deploying Windows 10 feature updates through patch. Okay. Events coming up. And again, suspicious, ZENworks 2020 Update 2. I'm sure Jason will put it in the Zen News should it occur. So keep an eye out on your ZENworks news. And also, there's a Micro Focus Bangalore Technical Conference coming up. You can register here and join. There's going to be one-on-one with developers. You can join different sessions. There will be limited slide decks because of the NDAs. Okay, so just be aware that that's coming up. It's going to be a nice conference, and you're able to go on in and talk with those developers and um, people at the conference, so that you can see what's going on with. And it's not just ZENworks. If you have Filer, if you have iPrint, if you have some of the different, here's a draft agenda. Let's see if it'll come up. Okay. So you have identity, repository, OES, iPrint, PAM. So, and you may not be able to see that. There you go. SSSD. Okay. So know that that's there. And feel free to go out to the ttp.org and you can sign up. Okay. Great organization. They're technical transfer partners, been around. I've done presentations for them. Fantastic group of people. Very resourceful. A couple of recordings I found was a ZENworks desktop containers and connected backup, which Ron mentioned. Ron was in just a little bit ago, last month, I think. Again, don't be afraid to register so you can get into that recording. This is that ST4 one, yeah. So this is the one I brought up earlier, and then let's see if this presentation will come up. Oh, good. Nope, I don't have permission. But Open Horizons, that's why I put Open Horizons here. Let's get Open Horizons going. And you can review the November 2020. Okay, so if you do now available on demand, you could register and you can go in and see different types of ZENworks. If I did Control F ZENworks, you can see ZENworks 8.2. This ticket management enterprise store is great, a great view. This one wasn't there. I don't think they covered it. I think they canceled it at the last minute because I didn't see it in there. And then but that one's there. So if you're in on Service Desk and you're learning I mean, I like to review it every once in a while because I'm not in it as often as you guys that are using it. But it helps me relearn and understand more about that flow and so forth. Surveys, 2 surveys. If you can, go to the Gardner Peer Insights and tell them, brag on ZENworks. That would be great. Okay. Um, it would help them know how you're using ZENworks. And then, of course, if you can, go out to my survey for the ZENcast progress to see how we're doing. I appreciate everybody putting comments in there. This has been out there since about November. So this is where I start processing and trying to help improve, and our team tries to help improve the ZENcast for you. Okay? So feel free to go out there. Those are, of course, I put the URLs here, but they'll also be in the description. Okay? Looks like we finished that. It's going to request a reboot. This is our ZENworks 20 update 1 appliance. So I'm just going to go ahead and reboot just so while we're waiting. Of course, future topics this month, we're doing patch management and air gap zone. You guys are challenging me. Okay, so I haven't done this before, but I've talked with those that have, and I've talked with the support behind it. So I'm going to learn all about it right alongside with you. But from what I understand, the documentation is spot on. So I'm going to test that documentation. We're going to go ahead and see how to do air gapped patch management next time. Okay. Upcoming database maintenance tips and tools. We have different databases, right? We got Vertica, we got the ZENworks, we got the audit, we got the service desk, we got ZRS tying into those, and there's Oracle. Sybase is no longer with 2020, but we have Postgres now, which is the internal embedded, and external Postgres, and obviously MSSQL as well. So that's going to be a topic in its own. We're going to cover a little bit about this as you've seen in different ZENcasts because of the topic we're on, content or whatever. But I'd like to get more into the maintenance tools and tips on databases themselves for what our product does. And then imaging WinPE. So we're gonna work on that and virtual application streaming and admin studio. And I hope to have some resources to come in on a few of these. So it's not me learning it and then telling you, but having the specialists come in that have that niche. And then ZSD migrations as well. We went to 8.2. 8.3 will probably be in second or third quarter this next year. We're going through testing now. And then disaster recovery for the different products. Again, maintenance, we're going to cover some of that today, but as far as disaster recovery. But disaster recovery, I've done some disaster recoveries where they've lost the primary CA or they've lost a primary server. How do you recover that? What are you looking for to be able to recover those items so that you're back to square one? And the community, I'm so proud of the community. They're posting out there. Be sure to go out there. You can be involved with some of their questions and answers. Um, they were talking about the Postgres maintenance itself. Somebody posted, hey, we're no longer on Sybase, but we have Postgres. What do we do for maintenance? So there's a thread out there on how to keep the maintenance up. And again, this is under ZENworks Configuration Manager, ZCM User Discussions. So the forums are very powerful. These are people that have used it, worked with it. Some of them are support people like myself. I know Craig Wilson's out there quite a bit answering questions, but also partners and then your peers that have run into these issues. So be sure to check this out every once in a while and review some of these because this was another one where they're asking about moving to an appliance. Okay, they have a SLES ZCM 2017. They obviously want to get to an appliance 2020. How do you do that, right? So I'm so happy that this forum is out there. It's very, very resourceful, and just don't forget about using it. It's a great resource for you. The last time we talked a little bit about where to start with maintenance. Have corporate documentation and screenshot configurations, contact information. So when you're doing that downtime and you need that system administrator database password, you know who to contact, right? If that happened to come up because you're troubleshooting something, um, have that available so that you can speed up your downtime should you run into any issues or if you're just doing an update. And then the diagnostics in ZCM probe for ZSD and ZCM. There's diagnostics for both of those. We covered a little bit about how powerful zman is and ZAC commands, logging and debugging with TIDs. We talked a little bit about the rights flow. The closest to the object wins. So if you have something set on the folder level and you have a setting set on the object level, let's say a workstation, the workstation level wins, right? So closest to the objects wins. Um, Content discussion and superseded files, we talked a little bit about that. We'll have a little more discussion on that today. And then some ZCM database queries, and I have those again today. Um, Again, remember the reference and links will be in the description of the recording. And I do have a download for one of my spreadsheets, okay, that I use. Uh, so this week we're going to talk a little bit more about health checks themselves. What are we looking for in health checks? We're looking, and if we're decommissioning a server or whether it's a satellite or primary, um, and you can specify a primary to have a particular use. So you could say, I want this primary to be ZCC and these other primaries not to have ZCC running. So that way you have it tailored just for that specific use. So there's a link I'll have for that. Content cleanup in lots of old SU content. I have upgraded from 17.0 all the way to 2020 update 1, and we'll get rid of some of those things. So you can see how I would do that. There is some discussion though on that. This particular TID here talks about if you have system update content, and it's going between two different browsers here. And let's go see. And it talks, oh, that's not it at all. I got the wrong TID in there. Let me get the right one. But system update content, making sure that you have cleaned up the content, but not too much. And then patch superseded delay settings. You can set delays on those. Disk space, we're going to talk about ZCM requirements, assignment optimization settings, and database connectivity with ZENworks Audit and Vertica. So let's first talk about any questions on what we're going to cover today. I'm probably going real quick and not even maybe there's no questions. Okay, I know you guys will just chat right in. Bring it right in, and I'll be happy to see it there and move forward with you. See if we can answer the questions, because I may not know it all, but I will try my best to get you the answer. Okay, so monitoring and tuning. It went over here again. There's a great article on monitoring and tuning. And whether it's a ZENworks primary servers, using the diagnostic tools, and that's this one here, diagnostic tools and diagnostics and probe, things you can do to set your servers to the optimum, right? Depending on your server RAM, it talks about what you want to have for heap menu and Tomcat threads. It explains the Tomcat threads and the heaps in detail. Okay, so you have different services running. You have your server service, you have the loader service, join proxy. Okay, making sure that you have those depending on what OS you're on. It tells you how to set those. So you can start playing with these. Should you see some issues? Defaults have been working fine for most people. The larger organizations may need to tweak these. Sometimes if you have a primary server that has a specific role, maybe just a join proxy role, then that would you might want to tweak that because all the load for join proxy is going to be on that server. But really good information in here in the documentation about configuring those things. Um, Diagnostic probe, again, using the tool. And here's a different tool, ZENworks Diagnostics. It does a great job when you go into your ZENworks Diagnostics. Let's go in there, Diagnostics. We talked a little bit about this last time and how when you hover over, it gives you the different statuses. Okay. We'll let it sync up here. But it'll explain each one of these different, they call them metrics, but different variables. And these are adjustable. So if we look back on this guy and we hover over and we needed our critical to be 80%, we can then adjust that in a file. Or the warnings at 80%, we can adjust that in a file. Okay, so that's in the documentation here. It has some great information regarding each one of these. And the processes, server and loader. One is services within itself, others is services for workstations and users, that communication. So being able to track that and set those and balance those loads out is good to have. So these are more references of being able to tailor your device to what you need. We went through this one. So again, when you download this particular presentation, you'll have these links. So that way you can get links directly from the presentation. Best practices. Again, if we did, so that should bring up the best practices link for 2020 update 1 and DiskSpace. Being able to go there and see all the best practices. Again, it's under the documentation. If you search on best practice, Control F, best, there it is there. And there we go. Okay. Sometimes I like to bring up the PDF because then you could search through, if I bring up best practice PDF, I could then search through each one of these through the whole document. Instead of with the HTML, you can only search what's available on the what's in the screen, right? What it's looking at. So be aware that the PDF is there and searchable all the way through, which makes it a little bit easier. At least I like it better when I'm doing a massive search and not sure where I want to look for schedules, right? So we can go to schedules. This is it here. Remember, there's a lot of schedules, okay? As you grow your zone, you want to make sure that your schedules don't conflict, or at least they're manageable, because you have schedules all over the place. Let me bring up my yeah, this one here. And this will be downloadable to you. I've had some requests for this particular document. As the zones grow and updates have grown, I've added things here. But here's internal schedules, right? You have blackout schedules, primary replication. Now, most of these defaults are fine, right? Don't get me wrong. But if you're working on TFTP replication status, you can then go to ZCC Device Management, Pre-boot Services, and you can see right where it is. A lot of times it's like, where I know it's in the console, where is it, right? That's why I made this up. Okay, because I refer to this one just to try and remember. Sometimes I just can't remember where all those little pieces are. Okay, so, but yeah, purge schedules, you have adaptive refresh schedules, in-tune policy schedules. So be aware that then you got the patch download, system updates, PRUs, right? So Um, you'll be able to download this particular one. I have a link coming up. It's a filer link. I think actually it's this link here. Let's see if I get this right. HC health check, and I wonder if it's just HC. Putting it in chat. Let's see what it comes out to. I might have to go over. I have it later in my presentation. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So if you download that, you'll get this presentation, this particular spreadsheet. All right. Now, this is not official documentation. I need to tell you that, right? Especially what I'm going to next. But this is, this is great to have as a reference. I hope you're able to use this and kind of help you through trying to find some of those things that you have a hard time to. But the next series of slides here, or this other part of the spreadsheet, you can see at the bottom it's health check 2021, and then you have primaries, managed in satellites, and inventory only. We've scoured the different documents so you can actually see what's supported where on each one of the products. Okay, and so if you're looking for, and then we have links directly to those requirements, the latest requirements. So this would be update 1. But you can see that Windows 2008 is not supported in 2020 at all. Okay. If you're on 2008, how would you get there? Well, then you have to figure out, are you going to an appliance? Are you going to, as a primary server, you're going to go to 2012? It's still supported in 2020, update 1. Are you going to go directly to 2019, right? But this is basically the system requirements in a spreadsheet for the different products. Okay, what is the RAM for the different products? So 2017, well, if you look at 11 SP4, right, it's 8 gig, and then it goes up to 12 gig. On the appliance, 8 gig is required. Okay, all the way across, and then it goes to 16 gig, and partly that's because of the Vertica database, right? So be aware that that's there. If you're not using Vertica, the recommended is 16. You can go 8, but be aware that once you add Vertica, you're going to need that extra load. You're going to have that extra load. So that's why they say 16 is pretty much default or recommended. Okay. Same with the quads. You got dual cores, and you got quad cores, and then you got up to 8 cores minimum with the Vertica database. Okay. So this is fairly handy. Also, like for the databases, you could see here that the embedded Sybase database is not supported on 2020. Okay, so you have to get off of it. If you're over here on Sybase with 2017 update 2, how do I migrate? And I do have, well, so this will give you a map, right? So this gives you a map. You'd be currently on some type of, if you're on Oracle, you'd want to move up. Obviously, if you're going to 2020, and you need to get off of 11. So again, Sybase isn't supported on 2020. What do? Here's your PostgreSQL databases. What are your max devices? Okay. Then hypervisors. Okay. Citrix Hypervisor 8X is supported. It wasn't, the Citrix X Zen server wasn't supported for a while. It now is on 2020. The different OSs, Xenon, SP3 and 12 SP3 and stuff. Okay, so this is just a resource for you out there that basically puts all of the system requirements onto one page. There's also the managed devices, the different OSs. Now you will see an occasional yellow, and that's where I noticed that we were supporting on 2017 Windows Embedded 10 LTSB edition, and I didn't see it in the documentation here. So I'm questioning that. Again, this is not official documentation. Be sure to check the documentation on the website for your version to be certain. But I have a suspicion that they just accidentally left it off, but I need to verify that before I can say that, before I can put it on here. Thin client sessions, Linux servers, Linux server operating systems, Linux workstation operating systems, what is supported, what is not supported. So this helps you as far as maintenance and moving forward to the next version of ZENworks on the configuration management side. This should be helpful to you. Also, what agents are supported? So it goes back to 11.3, I believe. Yeah, 11.3. So we can still manage on 2020 update 1, 11.3. Okay. We would prefer you to be on 2020 update 1, but what if you have that lone machine that is Vista that's doing some particular process and is still on 2017 update 1 or whatever it was supported on. Actually, it was before that. Here's Vista. So it wasn't supported at all. So that bad example. Let's go to XP, right? So it was supported on 11 XP4. You just can't get off of that because they haven't moved their application or whatever. Um, Understandable. You can back rev. Now it won't have all the special upgrades and updates. Even though you're on 2020 update 1 with so many features, they may not be able to have those features here, right? Because they don't have the agent to support it, nor the OS. Okay. So, and part of that, I think I mentioned last time, trying to determine what devices you have. I think I have it configured here under advanced search. Oh, good. So you can set up the under devices advanced search. You can set up these filters and just search on different devices with different versions. And I've done some filtering on these, and these are just the basic filters. If you look and we edit this one, it's just a basic filter, and I'm filtering on the device agent. Okay, you can add other things and do stuff, but I did 20 dot, so anything that has 20 in the agent version, it's good. So good stuff to have, being able to have these available save searches so you can see and maybe you're doing an upgrade from 2017 to 2020 agents. You could see how many overnight have actually gone from 2017 to 2020 just with this one filter. Okay, because you'll get totals and stuff. So that's kind of a good thing. Where were we? We were. So let me close these out. Okay. And then reboot needed on this one. I think I already did the reboot. Log out. Let's log back in. One thing I'm hoping to get is when you last did your update. Being able to look in the online updates. Oops. And being able to see when did I update this particular installed patch, right? It would be nice to have a date here. That's just my. So I'm hoping we can get that in there. All right. So back over to our spreadsheet. So basically, the managed devices. These are all the managed devices. Again, if it's a managed device that's supported, you can make it a satellite. Okay. And then and your satellites can be obviously 2017 O or higher, but you eventually want to make sure that it's on the latest. So they're all talking the same language for replication or whatever. Okay, and then the final one is inventory only. Okay, again, didn't see this there. I want to verify that. I suspect it's supported, but want to make sure before I put it on the spreadsheet. This has all the same um, inventory agents and operating system requirements. Okay, do make sure that if they have the asterisk next to it, you refer to the asterisk. Okay, because that's part of the documentation. I try to put everything that's in the documentation in here, but this is obviously not official documentation. This is referenced from the documentation. Okay. So helpful, not helpful? I'm hoping that's helpful. It helps me because then as we go to update 2, I can see what's supported, what's not supported, and I put that in my cookbooks, right? So let me minimize that. Let's go to special logging. Oops, hang on. Let me open that back up here. And here. Also be aware if you're having problems with certain areas and it says, hey, I'm having a Tomcat issue. There is, under advanced concepts, again, we're talking best practices, right? And this is advanced concepts. There's logging and how to set up logging. And we may ask you to do this, right? But this is where we're getting it from. We're getting it from directly from the documentation here. Of course, there are other things that we can send you, or we'll have dev FTFs. But know that this is here, so that if you're one of those that researches yourself and wants to get it, figure out what's going on, these are all here. Okay. Um, so a lot of good stuff. Another thing, the DMZ configuration's been expanding over time. So if you want to check on your DMZ and what type of connections you want to have associated to it, maybe you want remote control. There's some ports that need to be open. Imaging service. Okay, so be aware that that's a DMZ, but device management also through the DMZ, being able to set it up right. So there is some really comprehensive documentation out there that's been growing over the past couple of years that's really good for the DMZ, especially with you now having workers at home, right? Um, any questions in chat? No questions in chat. All right. ZSD reports and system. So under ZSD, you'd go to reports and system. Let's see if I have ZSD up. I got I'm just going to log in on these so we have them up. That didn't work well. Hang on. This is 9.4. Yeah, root. There we go. So this one was the one we did the system updates on, online updates, so it's pretty much good. Here's our ZCC for the same. Let's go over to, this is another ZCC I have, 20.1. I'll go ahead this one's Windows as opposed to the other being appliance, in case you had questions on that. So we're going to go root. Okay, and then this is the 8.2. Again, what I was referring to is if you're in Service Manager, and if you went to reports, you can then go to, you can see the logs in, who's logged in, and how long. you can go to System and see the different parts and the tasks that are going on. If you run a task, it'll add it down here that it's currently running, so you can see what's still running, and then of course the logs. If you export from here, instead of just giving the lifetime log on Service Desk, it'll actually give us the database type and version and those types of details that we could use. So do an export from here and give us the best if you're sending things in. And then, yeah, the special logging I talked a little bit about. The logs in Service ZENworks Configuration Management, you are probably all aware, but we're going to go through them real quick. You can see all the different system updates I've done here, and we'll go through these. But the logs are there, and anytime you do a ZCC activity, there is a ZCC log, okay? And then it archives after it's so big. Same with Zman. Your Zman log, if you're doing Zman commands, and you don't, the error goes by too quick, or you don't know what's going on with it, you can double check your Zman log here. You can see the different upgrades and updates that I've done and installs. I think the next slide is, so let's say you want to decommission the server, right? You obviously have to replace something, but you need to, if you have a test system, all the better, just with 2 primaries, maybe just 2 appliances. It's not going to cost you any more, but having the VMs stand up. At least you could see what you need to do or any errors that might impact you. Some of the things you want to make sure as far as impact, and it helps you calculate downtime. Now, I will say I had a test system on Oracle when I was working at my previous employer, and we did the test system the best we could, but obviously our production was much bigger, and it took like 3 times longer to do a purge on the Oracle because we didn't have that apples to apples. But at least we knew it was going to take, so long, and then it was still active longer, but we obviously found out it was just because there was more stuff in that. All your logs are in here, as well as Novell's ZENworks configure logs. So if you're doing some Novell ZENworks configure, start stop services, JVM stuff, it's logging all of that. So another good thing to note on ZENworks primaries, you know how we tell you if we're having an agent issue on a managed device, have remote control issues or whatever, and we tell you to do a ZAC-ZENinfo? You can do a ZAC-ZENinfo on a primary server, and it will collect this directory, which will collect all of those logs. So it will be much bigger, yes, but be aware that you can do a ZAC-ZENinfo right here, and it will collect all those logs into one instead of you trying to figure out, should I send them this log, or do they want the series? Just do a ZAC-ZENinfo, send it off to us, and we'll have more than what we need, typically right off the bat. Okay, make sense? All right. I'm going to actually go there. You don't need to be seeing me. Give it a little more room. So these are the different logs, and then if we went into like system update, we could see all our system updates. One thing I did want to look at was, did the PRU come over today? Because it normally comes out the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. And I'm curious to see if there's December. It was ran. I think we're baselined. Yep. So let me do this down a little bit there. And then let's do a check for updates. Curious to see if January 2021 came out today or if it's going to be another. Yeah, so today, tomorrow, or the next day, within the first couple of days, PRUs come out. So they're pretty regular on that. So double check those. The other thing you want to make sure is your locations are configured. So if you have a primary server, let's go over to configuration, infrastructure, closest server, default closest server rules. This is how, oh, let me go to my other one because I think I have two primaries on this one so we could see it a little bit better. Inventory, default. So you can see, and I have a primary, a satellite, and a another primary. So two primaries and a satellite. So if you're using locations, which I would recommend using locations if you can, be sure to double check these, because if we decommission this Windows box and we haven't removed it from the zone yet, but if we turned it off, or if we're having a problem here with this guy, it will still go through this order top to bottom for collection, and that's inventory. For content, right? So you have a new bundle out there, they click on it, it's going to time out, do a retry, then once it does that, it'll go to the next one. Okay, so be aware of the order of these in your locations. You won't have any satellite configurations in the configuration servers, so you don't have to worry about that, but also authentication. If you have a device that's down that manages authentication and it's first in line, and your user tries to log in to eDirectory or Active Directory, it's going to time out. It's going to take longer for that user to log in. Okay, so be aware that those are somewhat a concern when you have a down device, and that's where you go to locations too, because you can specify certain locations with certain default configurations, right? So if we went into this one, for instance, you can have relationships in here, and there's my location. Sorry, location is there. Okay, so if we went back to locations, we should see digital error. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, I just went in a loop. Hang on. Go to locations. We go here. Okay, and then the relationships. Oh, the servers here. So here's, you don't have, it's using default, right? So for that location, it's using default. Let's say you have a specified location, and maybe I need to do a separate, it would probably be good to do a separate ZENcast on locations. But if I had configured maybe the satellite first, because we want them to authenticate to the satellite first, right? Which would make sense if it's a slow link. Then you'd want to make sure that you had this in tow. We'd go ahead and configure this to the satellite. And I don't remember which device it is. Sorry. Let's go instead. Let's go to the server, our secondary server. I don't remember which one is a satellite. So we'll say that one is our authentication, right? Now, one thing to be very concerned about is if you check this box here, exclude, okay, it's not going to roll over to the default server rule. It's going to only use these. If it only uses these and this device is down, it's not going to get anything for authentication, and it won't log in, right? So if you do an exclude, make sure you have multiples in here as a backup, as just to cover yourself. Otherwise, it can't get to them, especially if you're looking for configuration servers. Where do the agents get their this configuration? Through the primary servers that are in this list. So if these primary servers, if I do these two, let's just do one. Okay, so we're having this, it's going to get all its configuration for this, and if we have exclude and this device is down, those devices will never get a refresh enough to, even if you uncheck this device is down and it doesn't know to update from this device the new setting that this is unchecked. So just be careful with this exclude. Um, it got me in trouble once and only once. So it's one of those things where you remember. Um, but locations is very handy as far as your links, and that's where if you have your documentation set up and you know your links, and we covered this last time where you could see in that one spreadsheet I had there were uh, fast links and slow links and that type of thing. How many devices on the other end? If you know that, you could then configure your locations accordingly and speed up and optimize your system. Okay. Some of the roles that we have, again, that spreadsheet that I had for health checks had the different roles. But again, you have things like certificates. If we scroll over and hit certificates, we can see this one has ZCM Pry 1. If we're decommissioning ZCM Pry 1, we want to move it to another server. It is as easy as this. We'll do it over to the Windows box. Again, it has to be a primary server, but it's now going to move that in the database over to the other server. And we kind of looked at that last time, looking at the roles and the configurations in the database. If we looked at this here and we're on this guy, and if I open up, I don't have that one available for roles. If we did query tool, I have that script in the last one where I did a select. Again, select statements don't modify anything in the database, so they're pretty much safe to run. ZENServerRoles and hit. I had a pretty detailed one last time. It's in the description. Let's go. See if I have it. Hang on. For some reason, I thought I put it in here. Let me open it up. I'll get it for you real quick here. Any questions while we're looking at roles and decommissioning servers? This is probably a ZENcast in its own, but again, part of your maintenance is to keep that updated. So anybody had any issues or wanted to or had questions about, hey, I need to move over or modify roles in any way? I found my, let me go to roles. Let me go view. I don't see anything in chat going on, so server roles. Yeah, I don't want that. I want open Notepad++. Okay. This is a good one. Let's go here. Now I don't have, this is on Postgres, so I haven't modified this for Postgres, but so it probably won't run. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. Open. Content. Oh, we have content ones coming up. Well, we'll move on. I really like this one though. I'm just not seeing it. It's in the last video. If we went over to here, let's go to microfocus. If you want to see how to get to the recordings, microfocus, support and training. Go there. And then you can go to the ZENcast full playlist. If we then went to this guy and we stop this because I don't want that, but if we show more, you can see here it is here. So we talked a little bit about roles. This is the one I like. And then we talked about bundle file content based on file size, because if you're trying to clean up space, bundles that have no assignment, and another on assigned bundle settings. So maybe you have bundles that don't have any assignments to them at all. They were worked on, they've basically been, no longer needed. But here you can see now that if I move this up, oh, come on now. You can see I moved it to ZERT.Auth. I thought I moved it to this guy up here. Configuration, authentication, collections, ZERT.Auth. Let's go back over to here. Oh, it's still moving. It hasn't completed it yet. That explains it. Okay. And then we have some cleanup, content cleanup. This is the wrong TID, so I have to look up that TID. So when I publish this, you'll see the one for system update content. But there's been some question on system update content about, what do I clean up? What about superseding files? And do I clean those up too? The answer to that was, okay, so for instance, this particular one, the last one is 20 update 1, right? So 5.0 means it's an update, and then this is the update is 2020. Then the 5th and 6th is update 1, and then the timestamp. Okay. So we know that 17.4, right? 17 update 4. We have 17 update 1. We have 17 update 2A. We have a couple of PRUs in here because they're 5,000s or 50,000 million, whatever, right? And then we have this one. Now the question is do I remove all but 2020 update 1? Well, that's a great question. The answer is maybe, right? And we talked a little bit about this last time. That was on 27, and this one's still, oh, he's having a little hard time, isn't he? Let me see if we can move it along. I can't remember if I changed it from Windows to that guy or the other way around, but you can change the role here, or you can change it in the database, in the documentation. The DR docs show that. But if we go to our devices again, and we go to the advanced search that I talked about, and we go, do I have anything on 17X? Yeah, I do. Okay, so maybe I need to investigate what versions these are through that advanced search. Let me do this and see what the different versions are, and then I can remove. So I have an FRU1. I have an update 4. There's not going to be an update 3 because I didn't do that on this device, this zone. So I have a couple update 2s. I have an update 1. And I don't have any update 0. So update 0, we know we can go. If update 1, we want to update those to 2020, right? update that to 2020, then we can move that one out. So this becomes really handy by seeing what versions are out there. Of course, there's a script you can run too, but next would be to go out to the device, and you're okay to remove like 2017 update 0, which isn't here. That was the very first one. Let's say we're going to remove 2017 update 1. So if you need that device to say 2017 update 1, it's best to leave some of these behind, because should the spokes change, and the spokes are the different products like endpoint management, policies, bundles, imaging, those are all spokes. If any of those change and they need that component in on that agent, it won't know how to retrieve them if you remove it. But let's say I have everything default. I'll just be upgrading everybody to 20 update 1. You can then start removing these, and you can see that there's a lot of, I like to leave one back myself. So 2020 and then 2020 update 1. But you can see how much, can I see how much? Yeah, I want to see properties. How much space I can retrieve just with that alone, right? So you can remove these, and you shouldn't hurt anything. Again, maybe is the answer to that in case you need something from those. And then there's also superseded files that are there as well, which Kurt brought up last week. So we'll go work, system update. You'll see them here. Do note, updates completed, updates in process, updates prepared. So this should be blank because we don't have any prepared. Let's see, did I do that right? Does it want Notepad? Open with Notepad++. I didn't know I had Notepad++ on this thing, which is good. I need to undock that. Okay, so, oh, I lost it. Let's go back here. So, oh, it's prepared. So this one's prepared, 20 update 1. If we go in process, there's none in process at this time. So when you're doing an update and it's kind of stuck and you're not sure what status is, you can always check these 3 files, and you can see all of these are done. Now the nice thing is, don't clear these out because this gives us a history, right? So it's good to have some history behind that, even if we were to remove these, right? All the 17s can go. Well, that's true. We have how much more space over here do we have? This is very small because these are just text files. If you look in here, okay. So you won't gain too much space here, but being consistent, we'll delete that. Okay. So the work is there. Content repo, same thing with your system update. This is a PRU. This is the latest PRU and the latest 2020 update 1. Okay, and this has all the install files. So it extracts it here, okay, to run. Okay, that's for system updates. Well, also bundle updates where your content is, right? You can, these are all zipped up in a ZENworks compressed file. But if you go out to we go to bundles, and we can go to, I don't remember which one I actually, that has a version 1, so it'll have a version 0 if I haven't deleted it, right? So other things you can clean up, and I had the query in last time. I'll put it in this one as well because we're covering it. um, is going ahead and delete older versions. Because if they have content, for instance, the newer one has updated content, then you want to delete the older ones if you don't need them anymore. Sometimes I would keep them back as a template or just to know what version I stepped up to. But you can delete all older versions or just that one version. So now you can see there's no drop down. You can't go back at all. All right. So that's some of the cleanup. The patch superseded delay is under security. So I think it's at the bottom. Maybe it's the other one. No, wrong one. No, there's a superseded delay. Danger options, select all, specify, replicate, where to put it. When all else fails, I go over to here to this guy. Find all. There it is. Patch Manager, subscription server content download, superseded delay. Superseded delay. So subscription content download. Which is where I am. I don't, control find, super. I don't see it there. Do I have patch on? Patch should be on here. Active. Okay. Interesting. I could have sworn I saw it there. Unless they changed the terminology. I thought it was superseded delay. Nope. Okay, we'll move on. But you can actually delay this superseding them so that they don't remove them right away. Yeah, I don't remember otherwise. Okay, next is disk space. So if we're looking at disk space, obviously Windows it's a little easier to check. You can do the properties on here, see how much because everything's loaded. We have free space of 71 gig. If we go over to, for instance, our ZCM, move this guy out. That'll tell us our different um, levels and the percentage of use. You can see VA storage is almost 50%. So we're looking good as far as space is concerned. And you should see that go down as you remove those older versions. Okay. And there's obviously more commands as we get into the Linux side of it. There's more commands you can run to look at just directories and stuff. But for health check and just kind of checking out what's going on, this is a general command you can see to see if you're running out of space. If you're up at 96% or something, first off, your diagnostics should show you that, and that goes for both ZCM and ZSD, but for the most part, that you should be able to see it with that in general. And then, of course, the system requirements, which is that spreadsheet, or go to the formal documentation for your version, just to be sure. And then you have, if you have a large organization, you can also go to your optimization settings, which is Valerie, thank you. Under CVE and patch cleanup to remove superseded patches. Are we talking here? Or are we talking, oh, we're talking patches? Maybe. Security. There's the details. Patches. Yeah, Valerie, you can see that I'm not heavy into patches, which is okay with me, but I can't find everything as easily as other areas. So if you have under CVE and patch cleanup to remove superseded patches, Valerie is saying, what is, let me do this because you know what? There's a delay. At Valerie. Let's do that because there is a delay. Configuration, CVE, and patch cleanup. Oh. I gotcha. Thank you very much, Valerie. So you have all your CVE. This is the new portion of it, which is really cool. So you have disabling the superseded patches for X amount of days. I got to go back and look at this again. Hang on a second. So patch, right? Because most of the other patch stuff is in here, the behaviors and stuff. Thank you so much. And then of course you can disable concurrent service patches, obsolete security patches. The other thing you want to do is not download everything, right? Maybe just the vendors you want, um, or the cultures, right? So be aware that there's adjustments here that help you, so you're not having every patch in the world come down. Valerie, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Um, so those settings should be tailored to your zone so that you get what you need, but not overloading. Because then again, it takes longer for those to come down and that type of thing. Okay. And assignment optimization under infrastructure optimization. This is typically for larger organizations. This is the pre-computed assignments for managed devices. You're enabling it, and how often do you have a recurring interval for that? Okay. You can disable this if it's a smaller organization, 1,000, couple thousand. As you start growing bigger and bigger, just keep an eye on that. If your optimization needs to be pre-calculated, it might be good to turn this on, but not really necessary on the smaller ones. Okay. Again, all the dedicated servers. This is a good reminder for me. On my spreadsheet, I have dedicated servers. Let me go back over there. And I'm going to go, we saw the schedules. Let's go to find dedicated. Where dedicated. And find all. Find next. So you could see that you could have dedicated servers for a lot of things. Okay. So if you're decommissioning that server that's dedicated to a particular function, it'll typically go to, it would be best to move it, but if you don't, it'll go back to default, which most often is whichever primary server picks it up. Okay. But obviously, if you dedicated it for something, you'd want to make sure that you had it moved to another resource. Maybe you needed to pair it off on its own. Okay. All right. And then what do I have next? I have the database connectivity. So again, under diagnostics, you can see your database up at the top, what it is. Here's your two schemas. I don't have the Vertica cluster installed on this particular one. Let me go to my 27 and look over here under diagnostics. Again, I have my audit ZENworks. No, I didn't load it up. I have Zookeeper running, but Vertica cluster is not on there. Excuse me. Okay. And again, database is a whole nother series of checks, right? We talked about the diagnostics heaps and stuff. We talked about the reports. DR docs are here. So in the presentation, be sure to download this particular, go back to the recording and download this particular link for this presentation. You'll get the DR docs. So Service Desk does have disaster preparedness and recovery, and so does ZCM. One thing to remember, having an appliance is fantastic because you just have a single source and you do snapshots. Be sure to do those snapshots. Okay, and that may sound pretty straightforward, but even if you have an external database, do those snapshots. Every once in a while, we'll come into an area where they didn't have either a recent snapshot or a snapshot, and we have to work on rebuilding it. Fortunately, the last one I did, they had an external database, so we were able to prop up another appliance and then bring up the failing appliance, grab the files we needed for customization in Service Desk, and then apply them. So we did a good job getting them up and running, but have those snapshots and it'll help some time in repairing some of that. Okay, and then of course the DR docs for ZCM. Oh, I just did that. Okay, that's deleting. So if you're deleting a primary server, they have a lot of different, most scenarios out here. Not all the scenarios are here, but most of them are. Okay. Again, server use, you can tailor to specific server uses. All right, if you want it, like I mentioned, ZCC only, this is how you'd set it up. Okay, it has a step-by-step how to set it up. If you're, diagnostics only, if it's an appliance console and you want to restrict it for certain reasons, you can do so. Device management, and then DMZ server management as well for remote control and imaging offsite. Okay. Again, you have one primary server that handles the MDM endpoint services. So with that, you have different details for those. We talked about the home content and the patches. I'm going to change this to the old system update content. We'll get that changed before I post. And then, for instance, TFTP bundles, cleaning that up. If you're missing patches or content, now this is 11.3. Good place. It's a good place to start. Hopefully, not always do we get back to old ones where they still apply to most recent ZENworks, but a lot of times they do. So do search those. Let us know when you call in that, hey, this shows version 11.3. Does this still apply for 2017? I'm having this issue. Here's my SR. And we'll modify this. We don't get back to all of them, so we apologize for that. Okay. Content without assignments, we talked about last time. Content with multiple versions, same thing. ZCC console cleanup. We talked a little bit about it by searching for the devices and the advanced search. We did check disk space and separate content repo volume. Let's not forget about that guy, right? If you needed a separate content repo, we need to make sure we're aware of that. Your documentation should have that as well. But so we can, when we're moving, if it's to an appliance especially, and you upgrade your appliance, you need to reattach that baby. So that's in the documentation as well. All right, let's see. Update 1 documentation. So system requirements. Again, I told you the spreadsheet, but We have the update 1 documentation, system requirements for primary servers, virtual appliances, and so forth. That way you can pinpoint your version and your system requirements. Optimization, we talked a little bit about large installations. It is documented here. Oh no, I just did a link to this. It is, I have to get a documentation link. And then tuning, we talked a little bit about tuning as well. So kind of went full circle on some of these. Database syntax there is for Postgres, and there is some hints here. One thing that under the additional information we talked about was some utilities, PGAdmin 4, some things to be aware of, the syntax changes, and then dbeaver, you don't have to do these syntax changes if you set this to hex. Okay. Novell ZENworks configure. So we all know about Novell ZENworks configure -c start. Brings up so we can stop and start services, right? Okay. So there's a series of Novell Zen configure commands, and this is as it does its install, it brings these scripts into play, right? Installs and deletions and as the operations of what's going on. But just be aware that there are others out there like system status. If we did system status and just give it a minute, it'll come up. The good thing to note in here is if you do a -F, if you need to run a couple of them consecutively, you can do a -F and put in a text file. This will run them in succession and you can see what it is, what's going on, without having to retype it each time. This takes a minute or two. Check out all the systems. Give it time. And it shows you the different service names there. ZenLoader, MICASAD, Join Proxy, all of those. Okay? Now, if you wanted to do, let's say, ZenProbe, okay, then if you want to do them both, you can then, if we do a cat nzc.txt, oops, oh, I got to go in temp. I put those three in succession. So if we then went to here, -F, nzc.txt, and it will just start running through them. So this is the first one, and I'll hit enter. Give it a minute to check the database. This one's a good one to check content that's not, you have content in the database that says there's content there. Then you have content in the content repo to be distributed to the devices. In this particular case, it's looking for content in the content repo that doesn't say in the database. So this is a good one to look at and being able to find out where there's mismatches. And there's a good link, there's a good content repo commands or troubleshooting section for this specifically in the manual to show you how to sync those back up and get them rolling. So I don't have that link with me, but I'll look for it. A couple of references along the way. ZCM 11, 2017, 2020, 2020 update 1, and the cookbooks are there. Remember on the cookbooks, like I have the system requirements in the cookbook for the 2020, but ZSD cookbook, actually let me go to version 8. Well, both of them have it. If you look at the bottom, remember the cookbooks has resources and not just documentation, but videos if you're moving up, but then also to upgrade the strategies on moving up. Okay, all my cookbooks have those references, and Service Desk has these here so that you can properly navigate how to upgrade. And when we're doing upgrades for Service Desk, you go n plus, they call it n plus one, or n plus 2. So you can only go subversions 2 at a time. Okay, so 0 to 7.2 to 7.4 to 8.0 to 8.2. You cannot get to 8.2 without being at 8.0 first. So, but you can't. So just be aware that getting to 8 dot something to get to 8.2 is what you need to go after. Okay, so this has all the system requirements for the server OS. These are obviously smaller. A smaller spreadsheet makes it easier to manage because it's just a smaller product with just an appliance. It doesn't have all the extra details of other OSs you can install it on. Okay, so that's all been updated. The one thing to note on here was the hypervisor no longer supported VMware Workstation. Okay. They're not testing against that now, so be aware that that has been dropped off support and for 8.2. Okay. And then we have some ZRS reporting server documentation. Are there any other questions in chat? Been going here a little while. I do want to make sure you reference, oops, let me go back. Reference a couple of things. There's webinars on this that still pertain and go into even more detail. Migrating to ZENworks 2020 best practices. Arvind and I did a demo just over a year ago. And, excuse me. And then there's ZENworks Zone System Health Checks Arvind and I did last year. So those still pertain. Look for those under the recordings for the webinars. And this is a master list, and you should be able to find them in here. Okay. Along with other things that still pertain. These webinars, they get some great detail into just some of those. There's your best practices into some of those details that for that type, for that area, the component of the product. Okay. Any other questions that I have in the stream? Anybody have any questions in chat? I appreciate you guys visiting and lurking and saying hi. It's a new year. I'm hoping it's going to be a real good year. I hope you guys are staying safe. Next, you're challenging me on that patch management. You saw how good I am at patch, right? It's been a while since I've been in there. So you challenged me to do an air gap zone. I'm taking it on. So next time we're going to do an air gap zone. And if you that use patch are available, your advice would be definitely helped. But I hear that the documentation, so basically I'm going to test out that documentation. Make sure that it works for you, and you can update a air gap zone as well. Upcoming, we're going to do some database maintenance tips and tools. We're going to do some WinPE imaging, virtual appliance streaming in Admin Studio, and ZSD migrations, disaster recovery. So what we've seen on the support side to be able to repair some broken zones or some broken service desk. Also soon to be coming will be a video on ZSD going to 8.2. So, and if you have any other requests, feel free to email me. I'm happy to entertain anything you have for this particular microfocus.com. Go ahead and email me there. Any questions, any comments, if a link's broke or something isn't working right, feel free to email me. We just want to make this your stream so that it's things that you're looking for, and I hope the new format works a little bit better for us so that we're not going all over the place. I don't see any other questions in chat. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I want to make sure hope you guys stay safe, keep smiling, and that's what I have today. I hope that's helpful. Remember, I'll have those resources in within a day in the description, and you'll be able to download obviously that filer document right now that was in the stream, and we'll have that on the description page too under the ZENcast playlist for today. All right, I appreciate everybody being here. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time, and we'll do some patch. Thanks, everybody. Talk soon.